Hi everyone, welcome to a review of the Earmen Audio Angel. This is a pretty nifty device. $600, it's colored blue. It's a pretty nice shade of blue. You don't see the shade of blue often in audio. The silver finish of this digital potentiometer is a nice sort of contrast, I think. You see the flashing LED, so it flashes on and it flashes white when you first switch it on. This volume knob doubles up as a power button, right? And like I said, it's also a digital potentiometer, so you get very precise steps. It's good feedback, it's very tactile, it's slightly wobbly, but it is what it is. I enjoy it, and I think it does offer you volume gain increments in very precise steps. So this is a very handy feature for a $600 device. You can get direct out, pre-out, as you can see from the front panel. I've tested this with the line out with the Brise Audio Suranagi, which is a $3,000 amplifier from Japan. So I will talk about what this sounds like with and without the Suranagi. You have a single-ended line out, a balanced line out. I was using the balanced, using a Moon Audio Silver Dragon connector. SPDIF in, coax, Toslink, of course. And data and charging are separated. The two USB-C ports are separated, which is great. So you avoid noise leaking into the data. And, you know, rubber feet, certifications here. It's a pretty lightweight device, around 300 grams, I think. And like I talked about the direct versus the pre, this is the gain mode, and you can press and hold. And once this switches on, you get more gain. Single-ended, balanced, perfect. This LED indicates a whole bunch of things, guys. It indicates white when, you know, it's powered on, orange when it's connected and playing PCM data. Cyan, I think, for DSD data. Magenta for MQA core. Blue for MQA studio, etc., etc. This also shows battery life, so it flashes red when the battery is less than 20%, blue when it's charging, green when it's muted, etc. I'll leave a link to other reviews where this is discussed in detail, the legend for what this LED indicates. Okay, so I've talked about the potentiometer and the precise steps. Every time you unplug an IEM, this goes to 0, which is amazing because you're not going to blow your ears. This is a very powerful device, guys. It outputs 1.62 watts. 1.62 watts through its single-ended at 32 ohms. And 2.25 watts at 32 ohms for balance. So it's very powerful. It drives the Aria without breaking a sweat. It can drive a Susvara, but it won't sound like a Susvara can. Of course, Susvara needs more current and all that. Even the Diablo here, which I'm going to talk about for the sake of a comparison, does not drive a Susvara to its fullest potential, despite being almost twice as powerful as the Angel. This has a Sabre ES9038 Q2M DAC chip, which is a nice one, and I've liked the implementation of Sabre ES9038 Q2M on other devices like the Aroma Audio Air in the past. I perceive no Sabre glare, and if anyone is, I mean, I highly question the person's listening ability. Full recharge, full charging takes about 3 to 4 hours. It lasts for about 7 to 8 hours on a single charge. So 7 hours would be when you drive something like an Aria, and you get 8 hours or slightly more when you're driving more easy to drive stuff like IEMs. So that's it, guys. That's as far as specs go. In terms of sound, the way I would summarize the sound of the Earmen Audio Angel is that I would say that this is so the bass extension and the treble extension are fine. It's not the most extended airy treble. What that means is sometimes cymbal hits do not sound as pronounced as it might on other devices. But what that also means is it has a slight warmish tinge because there's some focus on the mid-range. What makes the presentation warm also is the fact that the images are somewhat far away from you, which gives the perception of front-to-back staging, which is a very handy trick of this. So this does sound deep in soundstage, more so than you'd expect from a device of this caliber and of this price point. It's a $600 device, but it does offer soundstage in the front-to-back sense. Also in the front-to-back sense, you get a very good sense of layering. So imaging is precise, and you get a sense of different instruments being placed front-to-back at different layers away from you. Okay, dynamics are not super duper, so it's not super slammy or punchy, but it has note weight. So you do still get a sense of dynamism, but it comes from note weight as opposed to sort of bass impact. The note weight also renders the entire presentation more analog. Mid-range is fine. It has a nice timbre to it. Overall, I would say it's a pretty impressive device for timbre. And resolution is decent. I don't think it's as resolving as a Sony WM1ZM2, but this is, of course, a $3,500 device, a $600 device, so it's, 1/6 the price of the Sony. So for 1/6 the price, you do get a very decent performance, guys. Like I said, so overall, the way I would describe its sound signature in brief is I would say it's analog sounding, mid-range focused, with great front-to-back staging and layering. In terms of its comparison with the i5 Diablo, I want to say the Diablo is a little more acerbic in the treble. It's a little more strident in the treble. The Diablo does sometimes become fatiguing with a lot of different transducers. The Diablo is more powerful and less optimal for sensitive IEMs. Even on the eco mode of the Diablo, it's not going to drive IEMs very well because it gets loud very fast. On the other hand, this has such precise steps because of its digital potentiometer that I think it's very well suited for IEMs. I didn't get any waterfall hiss with any of my IEMs. But again, if you're driving an Andromeda or maybe some Empire Ear stuff, you might get some hiss. I haven't been able to get any hiss with the Earmen Angel. But like I said, I haven't driven Andromeda stuff, Andromeda-like IEMs. So this is slightly more acerbic in the treble, slightly more strident in the treble, slightly drier in presentation, significantly drier as a matter of fact, slightly more wider in staging, but this has better front-to-back staging. But I would not say that this is a superior device despite it being more expensive and coming in at around $1,000. This might have a different use case if you're driving more hard-to-drive stuff and if you don't intend to drive IEMs. If you need this sort of power, it is a very useful, handy device to have. Whereas this, I think, is more versatile. So that's for the Diablo. Now, when connected to the line out with the Suranagi is very good at, sort of retaining the house sound or the original signature of the source that it's connected to. And it was no different with the Earmen Angel. With the Angel, the Suranagi was very resolute in bass. The bass became slightly more authoritative. The treble became sweeter and even better extended. You do get this uplift in treble performance, especially in the upper treble registers with the Suranagi. And I do perceive slightly more resolution. So this amplifier is definitely beating the amplifier inside the Earmen Audio Angel, which is something you'd expect, of course, given how these guys are masters of portable amps, the Visa Audio guys from Japan. And of course, the fact that this is a $3,000 amplifier, almost $2,700. This is just a $600 DAC amp. So the line out works, and it works really well, and I enjoyed using it. Like I said, I used the Moon Silver Dragon line out 4.4 to 4.4 to connect this with the Suranagi. Okay, now to talk about the Sony W1ZM2. Now this is a ground pin adapter from DD Hi-Fi that you see being plugged into the Sony, which does have the effect of rendering the background even blacker, reducing noise, and just by virtue of grounding, Sony does sound absolutely amazing. And it always did, but it does. This adapter from DD Hi-Fi does take the performance of the Sony to another level. I'll just show you what the DD Hi-Fi adapter looks like, because some of you have wondered what this is. So this is the DD Hi-Fi adapter. It's a perfect matching shade of gold, and it plugs into the 3.3 and the 4.4 of the Sony, rendering this the grounding mechanism complete. Now the Sony, of course, is a different league from the Earmen. The Sony sounds more spacious. Sony does sound more spacious than almost any other DAP I've ever tried, and I've tried almost everything. The Sony is more resolving. The Sony does have a better rounded bass. So I can go on and on about how the Sony is better, right? But what I think is worth mentioning is that this is 6 times more expensive. And of course, instead of thinking whether you get 6 times more performance, you do get a significant upgrade. So this is worth its money as far as I'm concerned. But guys, this is a fantastic device for $600. $600 is not that much. And I would say that this is performing at the level of maybe $1,000 DAP or $1,200 DAP, and in some cases maybe even $1,500 DAPs. So this is value for money, my friends. Now, if you want to talk about IEMs, I hear about IEMs that I've driven this with. So I just want to mainly focus on 2. So this is an IEM that I love, the Campfire Audio Trifecta. The Trifecta is something I'll review. I just love this sort of blue colorway. It's the Astral Plane edition. This is a SEMA audio cable, which I think pairs really well aesthetically and sonically. The Trifecta is overall, to me, with this cable, a warmer sounding IEM. These treble peaks are less evident with this cable. And they became even less evident with the Earmen Audio Angel. So if you are struggling to drive something because they have treble peaks, this I think will manage the treble peaks really well, because this sounded very smooth on the Earmen Audio Angel. Its bass is powerful. It's even more powerful than something like a Sony IER Z1R. It's like a modern bass classic, honestly, the Trifecta, but the bass doesn't slam as much on the Earmen Audio Angel because it's also somewhat polite in bass, but you still get the bass weight, sort of the bass presence and the bass impact. So it's a nice pairing overall, a warm, and I think it becomes more laid back than I've ever heard this be. The Fur Audio Xenon 6, which is an amazing IEM, a powerhouse of an IEM with extreme resolution, soundstage width, and you name it, you get it with this in terms of technical performance traits. With the Earmen Audio Angel, I felt that the resolution here was just ever so slightly curtailed, and you got a warm presentation, pretty smooth, it's pretty laid back, which is again something that is known to be. And so the running theme here is that you are missing a bit on resolution, especially coming from Sony, but you're getting a very analogish, smooth performance. Finally, with the Hi-Fi Aria, this was interesting. With the Hi-Fi Aria, for whatever reason, it's an amazing headphone, which I don't think requires very expensive amplification, because with this, the resolution was, I think, very impressive on the Earmen Audio Angel, and the resolution here was actually higher than the resolution on the Sony WM1ZM2. It paired really well. The Aria's treble was smoothened, and it just became a wonderful listening experience. You got this front-to-back staging sense, the capability that the Aria possesses of the Angel. That was amazing. And overall, guys, this was a nice pairing. The Aria is wide in stage. This is deep in stage. That was a nice sort of a combination. The Aria is resolving, and this was able to portray the resolution of the Aria very well. The Aria has very nice treble extension, but it requires a bit of smoothing sometimes, so this was able to smooth out the Aria treble. So overall, I would highly recommend this pairing, guys. I thought this was just a wonderful pairing to have with yourself while on the portable or transportable sort of format. So that's it for me, guys. I mean, this is a very nice device. I'll switch everything off here. The Suranagi definitely escalated the performance, elevated the performance of the Angel. The Diablo, the Devil, does not sound as natural as the Angel, as you'd expect, from an Angel. And the W1ZM2 is on a different league, and you'd expect that because it's 6 times more expensive. I hope this review was useful, guys. Drop a link, drop comments in this sort of conversation if you want to engage me further. And if you like my video, stay tuned for the next one. Bye-bye.